Okay, I think I should be on now. Hello? Okay. All right. Hello, and welcome to the Healing Element Podcast. I am your host, Kaii Marie, and so thank you so much for joining me this evening. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the self-love practice. And I kind of thought about this as a conversation to have because of a post that I made, I believe it was last week. And it was just about all the 5 different ways that you can begin to practice self-love. And I thought it would be awesome to have a little bit of a deeper conversation than what you can have in a Instagram post about what those practices are and how you can begin to implement them in your life. So if you are new to the Healing Element Podcast, welcome. You can listen into a new episode, listen and watch a new episode every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please also subscribe to the channel if the information resonates with you, and also share with others, because maybe other folks that are maybe going through something similar, or you know someone that could benefit from the information that's provided on this platform. So please be sure to share it with those that can really help and benefit them. So before I jump into our conversation this evening, hopefully this works like a charm. I want to share with you, let's see this, and hopefully you can see it. There, that's probably a little bit better. So this is a Facebook group that I just started called Journey to Self, Journey to the Self. And this Facebook group was started for people who are on a journey, beginning to learn how to love who they are, appreciate who they are, and need some support along the way. A lot of times when we're on this journey of healing, when we start to change our view of self, right, of who we are, it then begins to change how we view the world around us. And that will definitely impact our relationships. And that can be very challenging when your relationships start to change and shift from what you were used to and what other folks were used to. And, you know, as far as how you were showing up in their lives, and all that starts to change, that can feel very overwhelming at times. And so the Journey to the Self was created to help you during those challenging times and help you to navigate through those relationships. So that way you can continue your healing journey and really become the highest version of yourself. So I hope that that you decide to join the group, and I will put I'll put the link right in the chat box, so that way you can join anytime. If you're listening live, you can join now, or if you're listening in the recorded podcast version of the episode, that you can still join. We have a lot of great things going on there. In addition to knowing about events that we have going on, there's a lot of events that are going to be held right in the group itself. So there's a series that's going to be coming out that's for the group. We're going to be doing yoga in the group. So you definitely want to join because it's going to be really a nice kind of family type of feel. And so I would love for you all to take part in that. Okay, with that being said, we're going to jump right into tonight's conversation. And this is about the self-love practice. And I'm probably going to change the name to this several times as we go through, but you get it. It's about loving yourself and how do you love yourself. So the first part of that, and, you know, as far as order, this is one thing. I really don't think of healing in a linear fashion. I think we go through cycles. And, you know, I have a workshop coming up that you guys saw in the intro, which it's called Journey to the Self. And so all of this journey to self, self-love, all of this is about connecting to your inner world. And when you're connecting to your inner world, it's not kind of a linear path that you're going on. You're going on it's a path of cycles. So you may go through a cycle where you are purely focused on your inner world, and you realize like, wait a second, I got to start paying attention to what's going on externally. Maybe now that I got some things resolved internally, I can start to pay attention to what is going on financially in my life, what's going on career wise. And then you can start looking into those different dimensions that I talk about on my Instagram page, and also in the Facebook group, about these different areas or different aspects of our lives. And what we want to do is bring wellness to these different aspects of our lives. But it's always helpful when we're looking to begin to work on things that are external from us to always start with our internal world, to make sure that we have the clarity that we need, so that way we can successfully navigate through challenging times, or just kind of getting things in order. It always doesn't have to be something challenging or trauma. It could just be there's some areas that you want to work on, to improve upon. And to do that, it's always great to make sure that your inner world is as peaceful as possible, because that will always impact you making great decisions. And not to say that it'll be perfect, everything is a learning opportunity, but you're able to make better decisions when you have calm within. If you're frantic inside and feeling a little chaotic, then that's definitely going to impact how you are able to handle different situations that come up in your life. So with all that being said, the first way to practice self-love, and again, this is not that it's easy and it's not linear, but it's to forgive yourself. So when you are on this journey of beginning to heal and recognizing who you are, not who others said you are, what others thought you should be, when you are on this journey of discovering really your likes, your wants, the vision that you have for your life, the dreams that you have that maybe you kind of set aside because other folks did not support it, and you were concerned of how they may view these dreams and visions that you have for your life. So you instead kind of went the way that would be most pleasing to folks. And when you do that, you can feel some resentment towards other folks, and you can also feel some type of anger within yourself that you allowed other folks to sway you in a decision that you wanted to make with your life, or with any situation that you're in which you had to make a decision that maybe you went against something that you really, really wanted to do. Even maybe your intuition was telling you to go a certain way, and you didn't go that way because of fear of what other folks may say. And when you begin to go on this journey of loving yourself and healing yourself, you will start to remember those occurrences or those situations that happened, and you may feel yourself getting angry. And what I have learned, and I've spoken to many other folks when I've worked with them through yoga therapy and meditation, is that it's so much easier. It feels so much easier to forgive other people than it is to forgive ourselves. And so that forgiving ourselves is something that is a practice that doesn't happen overnight. And we can definitely get into more of how to do that. I can say on my journey, what I began to realize is there's this acceptance of there are things that have happened that I cannot change. So I have to accept that, but I can move on and grow from it. And what happened doesn't have to control my life. It doesn't have to control how I move moving forward. But if I don't allow myself to learn from it and heal from it and move forward, then it will have that control over my life. So beginning to forgive yourself, and it doesn't have, when someone's like, well, forgive myself for big things, small things, that's different for everyone. Some people can forgive themselves for things that others could seem like, wow, I could never forgive myself. And then others like, yeah, I did that, no problem. So it depends on the individual. And that's one other thing about the journey. And I actually did a video about this in the Facebook group, in which I talked about how it's so important not to compare your journey to someone else's. Everyone has a different story. Everyone is walking a different path. And so we have to really know that my story is different from others. My makeup is different than others. So it's so important not to compare ourselves to other people. So on this journey of forgiving yourself, maybe it's journaling, maybe writing down your emotions of what you're feeling, because you can't go to that person that maybe did something and you allow them to do that thing to you. And now it's coming back to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I told them this, or I wish I stopped them, all the wishes. But maybe at that point in your life, you didn't have the confidence to do so, or whatever that was going on. And so you did not kind of maybe stand up for yourself or take the action that now through your healing process, you believe that you should have taken. And that's okay. So if you can write about it, journaling is a great method. If you want to vlog, you can do that. And when you vlog, it doesn't even have to be something that you then post on social media. You can definitely have your own personal blog, maybe even record, do voice recording. Again, everything, whatever you do not have to share with others. If you are able to have a conversation with a person, because maybe some type of the engagement you have with them, and part of you forgiving yourself is saying, listen, I got to talk to you about something that occurred. And through that, you can find the closure that you need to move forward. But we always can't speak to the person that maybe we had some type of interaction with that caused a little pain or maybe trauma to our lives. So we have to find a way within ourselves that we can begin to heal ourselves, forgive ourselves, and not hold on to it. Because when we hold on to the not forgiving ourselves, that just brings pain within our bodies. And we have talked about before about how the body, if you have some trauma within your body, that it will begin to show, and it can show in different ways. It doesn't have to show necessarily as depression or anxiety. It can show up as an actual illness, maybe a chronic illness. So it's so important for when you're going through your healing journey to write, to meditate, do yoga, whatever practice that you need to help you begin to release anything that you may be feeling, so you're not bottling up feelings inside, because they will come out. It may not come out with you yelling at somebody or cursing somebody out, but somehow it will show up in your body. And to avoid that, we want to make sure that we're letting that stuff go. So that comes through forgiving yourself. And I don't say this like it's easy. It is a practice, and everything that I'm saying is a practice, but it is definitely something that you can do. And if you need help doing that on your journey, then all you got to do is hit the link and join the Facebook group, Journey to the Self Facebook group, and you will definitely get all the support you need. I'm making daily posts, and we have a lot going on as far as different series to help you through this healing journey. So please make sure you join the group. Okay, so, and I say next, again, we're talking cycles, so next not linear, but next is what I'm bringing up. All right, so now we have heal unresolved trauma. Now, when we're looking at unresolved trauma, when I say heal, it doesn't mean that, okay, I've done the work, now this thing no longer impacts me and I can move on with my life and I am healed of all trauma. I always say, if anyone tells you that they've healed all their trauma, probably take a step back, right? Because there's always something in our lives that we're still working through. And that is about this whole experience, this whole journey that we're on in life. Yes, to become our highest version. And through becoming our highest version is solving problems. So we're placed here to solve different problems in our lives, different challenges in our life. So if we're looking at healing from trauma, how do we begin to do that? Yes, maybe it is going to therapy, talk therapy. Maybe it is talk therapy and doing art, finding a release, but it's definitely not pretending like the trauma did not occur. So we begin to heal the trauma that occurred through, you can share with others. Again, burying stuff deep inside is not going to help you heal. It only adds to the pain that you're experiencing. You have to begin to let that out. Now, when you are looking to begin to have a conversation with someone, hopefully it is someone that is specialized, especially if you're dealing with, if you have childhood trauma or very heavy traumatic experiences, you do want to talk to a professional therapist. Maybe you could even have hey, we have Queen Neff in the building. We appreciate you too. I just spoke in the intro. There was a little, what did I have up there? A little picture of the challenge that we have going on. So I'm definitely going to mention that. So when you are going through your healing journey, it's not for, you don't have to go and bear it to everybody, but through someone that you trust. So maybe it is having a conversation with a therapist. Maybe it's having a life coach, seeing what you need, trying different things out to see what will work best for you on your journey. The thing that I really like to get across in this podcast is that healing does not have to look a certain way. It's for us, we have truly been cut off from listening to our bodies. And our body is always talking to us and saying, this is what I need. This is what I need. Can you help me with this? And we've been so disconnected. And this is just how, unfortunately, how we're raised, just kind of being in this society. We're disconnected to the messages that we're receiving. So if we get still and get quiet, and this is why I love meditation, many times our body will tell us exactly what it needs to begin to heal, because our bodies always want to go back to that space of balance, right? Of homeostasis. So if we listen, we can definitely pick up on what the body needs. Maybe acupuncture, maybe that will help you on your path to beginning to heal the trauma in your body. So I would say just don't limit yourself to what it has to look like. This is your opportunity when you're on this self-love journey to explore and listen what your body's telling you, and then go do it. Okay. So first we talked about forgiving yourself, the process of that, then healing unresolved trauma. Next is remember your energy, your life force, your breath. On this journey, when you are learning to heal, when you are learning to love yourself, when you are forgiving yourself, many times you are dealing with a lot of traumas that have occurred in your life that you've never dealt with, right? So a lot of times we've had traumatic experiences and we just kind of tucked them away and we did not address them because it could have been too painful. And when we start to uncover those traumas that maybe we've hid away for years, it feels as though you're reliving the experience all over again. And so when you're going through this process, I just encourage you to remember your breath, and it does get better. I know in the midst of it, it feels like it doesn't. And it could feel like all hell is breaking loose within your body and maybe externally. But I promise you, as you begin to take those steps, it will get better, especially when you have the proper support system to help you during those challenging times, to know that you don't have to do this by yourself. And something that's always with you is your breath, right? So when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling, oh my gosh, I can't do this because, I'm setting up boundaries with people now, and now that's impacting relationships. And now I have less people in my circle because I'm setting up boundaries. All of that can feel very overwhelming. And so when you're feeling in that overwhelmed space, it's so important to remember your breath. At that moment, you can place your feet firmly to the earth. Place your hands over your heart. Take a moment to close your eyes. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. That breath is your energy life force. With that breath, with you continuing to breathe, that's telling you that you can go forward. You can still make a change in your life. It is not over yet. As long as you are still breathing, you can still create the life that you want. And though it may be challenging at times, you can get through it. Again, having that proper support is so important. And one way that you can have that support, like I said, is through joining the Facebook group, that you can have the support that you need to get through those challenging times. Okay, but always remember your breath. That's, for me on my journey, the journey is continuous. So I have not arrived. I'm just providing you with what I have learned thus far. And I will continue to share what I learned on my journey with you all. And hopefully it will help you kind of navigate through these areas that may be a little sticky. You're like, oh, okay, I remember what Kaii said. So now I know how to manage through this. So that's my goal, that you don't have to kind of stay stuck like I did in certain parts and certain cycles of my journey, that through this information that it can make it a little bit more easier for you. So always remember your breath. For me, meditation was big. Meditation was also big because, meditation feeling my breath go in through my body, out through my body, taking a moment to pause. During my meditation time, I began to visualize the life that I wanted. I was not happy with who I was and where I was in my life. And I didn't quite know what I wanted to be, but I knew what I was. I didn't want that. Right. So to visualize, when I was visualizing what I wanted, I was visualizing me happy. That was it. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, I was visualizing me with a new car, new job. No, I was visualizing happiness. What would I feel like if I was happy with my life? What would it feel like inside if I loved who I was? What would it feel like if I stopped comparing myself to other people? And as I began to do that, I began to then realize that all these things where I kept picking myself apart, I no longer had to do that. And that came through quiet time with myself. Another thing is too, I had to start to kind of have alone time and also kind of turn off the TV. And I say that because a lot of times TV, well, not a lot of times, TV is always sending us messages. Social media is sending us messages. Right now, I'm sending you a message. So our minds, our bodies are constantly getting bombarded with information. And on my journey, I had to start cutting some of this information off. So it means that I had this kind of pull away from the TV because I wanted to change my life. And I was so tired of the thoughts, opinions of others dictating how I should move. I didn't want the messages from the entertainment world, TV, to also be another added message that I now have to pull apart, unpack, because I'm trying to figure out who I am without the input of others. So when you have your quiet time, I do recommend even taking a detox, especially with everything going on right now. It may be the best thing to take a detox from social media, from television, so you can begin to get quiet and really go deep into who you are without outside noise. So beginning to kind of quiet that outside noise and get quiet to find out who you are, and always remember your breath. As long as there is breath in your body, you can make a change. It's never too late. Forgiving others. This is the next part of this little cycle. Forgiving others, I said earlier, it can feel easier than forgiving yourself. But forgiving others, and I know so many of you have probably heard this, forgiving others, it's more to do for your own health than it is for theirs. Carrying resentment and unforgiveness, that's such a load, and you really don't want that type of energy in your body because it does come out. Again, it can come out with depression, anxiety. It can also come out through some type of illness. So when we're looking at all these emotions that happen in our body, we have to make sure that we begin to realize that it can show up physically. And so we want to begin to heal ourselves so that way we can we want to deal with the trauma and begin to heal from it and forgive. So that way it releases it from us. And there's a book that I have. It's called, oh goodness, I think it's Messages of the Body. And this book, it talks about the different elements that we have in our body and how it can show up, and how the elements are connected to some type of emotional trauma. And I wish I should have grabbed the book before I came over here. But this is a book I will post. I'll probably have to post it after this broadcast. But if anybody, those that are listening, if you could purchase this book or go to the library and see if you can get it there, highly recommend it. This book was given to us by a dear mentor to my husband and I. And anytime we see or realize something going on in our body, we go to that book and we're like, okay, wait a second, something going on emotionally, something, there's something happening within that we got to begin to let go. And it's not to be paranoid about it, but it's to know that a lot of times physical issues that show up in our body, many times it's connected to something emotional that happened. And that's the important part of beginning to that healing journey and beginning to release. And that release comes through forgiving others. And then we have know when to let go. When you are on your path, you're learning how to forgive yourself, right? You are beginning to work through those traumas, and it is a process. And I say it's a process because I'll give an example. For me, there was about 2 years that I was single before meeting my now husband. And I thought that I had worked through a lot of issues related to relationships, right? So it's like, I'm good. Like I went through all my healing, so I'm good. When I be in a relationship, it's gonna be fine. I'm not gonna bring up any issues from the past because I worked through it all. Right. So got in a relationship and all this stuff started popping up. Things that I thought I dealt with that were over, but they were there. Right. So although my response was probably much different because I started to do the work, but now I had to really work through because now I was really faced with things that I wasn't faced with when I was single. So what I'm saying is this whole process, it is a cycle. And as you begin to heal, there will be times you're like, oh, I'm over that. Yes, I can move forward. And then something can happen. And then you will feel like, oh my God, so I'm not really over it. No, so there was some healing. There was some work that you did. But what that's showing you is just there's more work to be done. And that's always going to be the case. So please don't get down on yourself. Don't get discouraged. Healing is a lifelong process. And because you're constantly learning more about yourself. So that means you're going to be learning more about what you have to work through. So when you're on this path of forgiving yourself and healing from trauma, remembering your breath, when you're forgiving others, sometimes you're going to find that you're going to have to let people go. And that comes through setting up boundaries. So when you're forgiving others, it's not as though, oh, I forgive you. And, the relationship goes right back to where it was before. Maybe it's I forgive you, but now I have to set up a proper boundary because we can't go back to where we were until we see the person that I had to set up that boundary with, that their patterns of behavior have begun to change. So sometimes when that happens, it could mean that there's a change in the relationship. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean the end of a relationship. It just means that it may have to change. And it doesn't mean that it can't go back to this relationship that it was previously. And I want to put a pin in that. But it doesn't mean that it can't go back to relationship it was previously, but it means that you had to make adjustments because this relationship has to serve both parties. And I say put a pin in it because on your journey, you'll begin to realize as you begin to love who you are, appreciate who you are, understand your worth and your value. When you begin to do that, you will definitely show up in the world differently. Right? When you have that confidence, you're showing up in the world much differently. And people that were around you, depending on the reasons why they're around you, they may respond differently. Some people may celebrate, like, finally, you recognized how awesome you are. And other people may say, who does she think she is? Or who does he think he is? Right? So it depends. So when you are on this path, know that your relationships may change with certain people. It just depends on why they were around you, why they were in your circle, and why you allowed them to be in your circle. And so during that process, when you are on that path of making changes, it's to find how you can be okay with letting go. And it's not always easy. But remember, you've worked too hard to get to where you are to now just allow anyone around you, right? You fought too hard for this person that you're now becoming. You've worked through forgiving yourself. You're working through healing traumas. You're meditating. You're working to manifest the person that you want to become. you started to forgive others. And in order to maintain all the work that you're doing, it's going to be imperative to set up those healthy boundaries. And so hopefully this information shared tonight is helpful to you. And if this information is helpful, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And please also share and also subscribe to the Healing Element podcast and leave a comment below. Where are you on your journey? If you're saying like, listen, I'm just trying to forgive myself right now and I need help with that, let me know in the comment section. If you're saying, listen, I'm having a hard time forgiving others. I'm having a hard time letting go of a relationship. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It could be any type of relationship that you're now realizing that letting go doesn't necessarily mean the person's out of your life. It's letting go of the expectation of what you wanted that relationship to be, and the realization of what the relationship really is. And that can be very painful. But it's working through all that and having that proper support system to work through it. And that, again, is why I created the Facebook group. So go over to the comment section and join the Facebook group. So that way you can get the support that you need on your journey. I have some series that are coming up. And it's created for us to support each other, because we are all going through this thing called life, and we can all use some support and encouragement along the way. No one has arrived and has all the answers, but there are those who have been on a certain cycle that can provide information that can help you on your journey. So just to kind of recap, and we're going to wind down, we're going to end a little early this evening. So first, forgive yourself. Being on that journey, begin to realize, listen, everybody makes mistakes. We're all having this human experience, and it did not come with a roadmap, right? And we're all unlearning things. And one book that I recommend to everybody to read when they're first starting out on their journey is The 4 Agreements. I think that's an awesome book to begin to help you understand the importance of you going on a journey of self-love. So forgiving yourself, healing unresolved trauma, that's going to be continuous. You're going to think at different points like, oh, I'm over this. And something's going to come up and you're like, oh my God, I thought I was over this. It's okay. There's just something within, you dealt with some of it, but there's more that you have to deal with. But that's okay. Because as you begin to, the more you deal with it and not kind of shove it in the corner, but actually dealing with it, the stronger you become. And all of this produces better outcomes in all areas of your life. And then again, remembering your breath. That's your life force. Remembering that energy that you have. And as long as you have that breath, breathing, you can make a change in your life. You can begin to forgive yourself. You can begin to let go of hurts and pains that you've carried for years. You can start to let that go. It does not have to continue to reside in your body. You can make a decision right now to begin to release. And forgiving others. Harboring unforgiveness or ill will against other people, it only harms the person that's holding it. That other person is living their life. It is only harming the person who's doing the harboring. And it's not worth it. It's not worth our peace. It's not worth our happiness. It's not worth our life. So beginning to forget. How do we forgive others? Maybe it is confronting the person in a constructive manner. It could be, again, journaling. It could be you visualizing that you are releasing this thing, whatever it is that occurred. Again, therapy, art, music, finding different means to begin to let that stuff out. Again, using constructive ways, holistic ways to begin to release. It could be exercise, working out. It could be yoga. So finding a healing modality that works for you to begin to work through the holding of what you may have towards others maybe that have wronged you. And then wanting to knowing when to let go. When you're making all these changes, you're starting to show up in the world differently, and you got to protect the new person that's showing up. You've worked too hard to come this far to just allow anybody to kind of hang around your life if they're not adding value or if they're not valuing you. And so therefore, that means it's important for us to bring value to others. So all of this healing work, it is for us to begin to be the highest version of ourselves. It is for us to show up in the world better and, make better decisions and be of value to family, to community. And so therefore, all of this works for the better good of society, of the global community. When we begin to work on ourselves, when we begin to work past our traumas, we then show up differently in every area of our life. So I hope that you found this helpful about practicing self-love. And it is a practice because you're constantly learning about yourself. You're constantly learning about the world around you. And maybe if your thing was like, it's hard for me to say no, so you're trying to learn new ways to say no until you can just say a firm no. You can say, that's not, I can't do that right now. So what I'm saying is that on this path, you're constantly going to be learning. You're constantly going to be evolving. So be gentle with yourself. Extend grace to yourself. Extend compassion to yourself. But also within all of that, making sure that you are holding yourself accountable, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for you. Okay, so if we're not getting where we want to be in life, can't keep blaming others. We have to then take responsibility. And how do we take responsibility? By doing the work, by going on that path of learning how to love ourselves. Many times we don't know how to love ourselves because the examples that we saw around us, maybe through growing up, maybe there were not images of love, so we don't know how. So it's all a learning experience. And so that's why you have people that are healers or in wellness, because so many of them have gone through so much to begin to do the work. And now they want to provide information to others to help them on their journey. And so that's why I'm here. That's why we have the Healing Element podcast. That's why I provide yoga services, especially, if you are a therapist or social worker and you do any type of group therapy and you want to add a little bit of yoga to the treatment plan, then we can definitely work together to do that. So all of the work, everything that I do was part of my journey to begin to heal. And so that's why these are the same offerings that I provide to others. So you can see, again, that cycle, how it's this continual type of evolution in which you just want to continue to help others as you still go on your journey. So hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully this video allows you to begin your self-love practice. And as I said, if you need help, if you need support, make sure you go to my Facebook group. It's right in the comment box. So that way you can join and get the support and the encouragement and the accountability that you need. So that way you can really be successful in your journey. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I will see you here next Tuesday, same time on the Healing Element podcast. Please visit kaimarie.com to know about events that I have coming up. And also follow me, Kaii Marie _LLC on Instagram. There I post a lot. So you'll get some inspiring information and also some info that can help you live holistically. So I will check in with you guys soon. Have a fabulous night. Bye-bye.